Hey guys, it's Avian again, back on the test server with Rage this time. We're going to take a look at the changes that were made with Game Update 58. First, I'll start with telling you which changes were made. I'll then proceed to show you what kind of damage you can expect. And finally, I'll share some of my own opinions as well. As always, I'm using the Tonto test, and this time the precision version, since Rage is precision based. And the tests I've done are 10-second parses done 10 times. So let's take a look at the changes first. The instant damage you can do with Rage Power when you just use them from the tray and when you use Savage State combos, the damage has been increased from those. There are no longer any AM restrictions while you're in tank role, so you can expect to do some battle tanking like how Atomic is doing right now. Savage State has been upgraded so it lasts 3 seconds now, so it gives you a bit of time to recovery, so you don't have to start over again. Plasma Rich, does additional damage while in Savage State, but it doesn't stack with Galing Eruption. Dreadful Blast, your ranged option, has now got a buff, so it does more damage while you're in the 13-meter range, and melee combos got a buff as well while you're doing melee combos. Alright, let's take a look at the damage. Alright guys, I'm standing here in front of the 3 sparring targets, and before I'll show you my melee rotation, I just want to talk about Relentless Anger. Savage State, the basically advanced mechanic for Rage, doesn't actually give you the melee damage on its own. You need to use Relentless Anger to boost your damage further until you actually get the melee range damage. So this is actually a must if you want to melee. Alright, the rotation I use is Galing Eruption, clipped with Bloodlust, clipped with Relentless Anger, and then I just use Eviscerating Chain, Outrage, and Revenge until the cooldowns on the other powers are back up again. So it looks kind of like this. Yeah, and this is basically just what you do until the cooldown of the other powers are back up again. So yeah, this is where I refresh it. The damage I'm getting from this rotation is about 36k. As for your range options, what you have there is basically only Dreadful Blast. Here it is. There was actually a sort of unintended thing where you were able to do sort of melee range damage with Dreadful Blast as long as you had Relentless Anger as well. But it required that you stand basically this close to the enemies. They fixed that though. So the only way to do melee, close range damage now is with melee. Let me just move this over here. Yeah, and for the range rotations, I usually go with Galing Eruption, clipped with Bloodlust, and then Dreadful Blast. Now the thing about Galing Eruption is that it only works as long as you're in mid-range. If you want to go further away, you have to use Plasma Rich, which actually got a buff as well, like I mentioned before, but it's a jump cancel power, and that can kind of mess up your rotation a bit because you have to deal with the dovetail. And personally, it's not really worth it in my opinion, but let me just show you this first. So, Galing Eruption clip with Bloodlust and then just Dreadful Blast until Bloodlust and the other one is off cooldown again. So it looks like this. Yep. It's kind of boring, but it gets the job done. I'm getting about 32k on average with this rotation, and for maximum range it's basically the same thing, but like I said, you have to use Plasma Rich instead of Galing Eruption if you want that extra bit of damage. At this range I get about 25.5k with Plasma Rich, but I tried to use it without Plasma Rich and I only had like 0.5 difference there, so if you just use Bloodlust and Dreadful Blast, you'll actually get 25k damage. Well, that's what I got. Alright guys, let's recap the damage. At close range you get 36k, at mid range you get about 32k, and at max range you get about 25k. Now that the damage is out of the way, let's talk about my opinions. I think Rage in general is doing a bit low. It only does 36k, and Hardlight does 38k, and I guess the argumentation behind this is because Rage is better equipped to melee because of the Rage Crash mechanic and the ability to heal back damage it takes. But it's still just a melee power, just like Hardlight, and the only way to get the close range damage is through melee. So personally, I actually think these two power sets should do 40k plus damage while they're meleeing. Dreadful Blast. The latest fix they did to make sure that it wasn't doing more damage or equal to what the melee combos were doing at the close range kind of bugged out Dreadful Blast, I suppose. I tried to test it out again to make sure if they actually did what they told us. And when I was using it at 0 meters, it was actually only doing about 29k on average. So I guess they messed something up there, but that'll probably be fixed pretty soon. Plasma Rage. I don't really think it's worth it. It does do more damage, but it's still a jump cancel power, and because of the dovetail, you're just losing out on it. So if you're in mid-range, just go with Guiding Eruption, and if you're out of that range, just don't use it at all, because if you take a look at the power tree here, you have to use either one of them. You can't use both, because then you can't get the two critical chance and critical damage innates in the iconic trees here. So yeah, it's not really worth it in my opinion. Another thing that people have brought up is that Rage kind of uses up all the slots on the loadout. You don't really have a lot of variations here. The only thing you could take out of the loadout if you're using melee is really Guiding Eruption, if you want to use a supercharge or something else instead. Some people also want Outrage's cooldown to be lowered, so you can just go back and forth between two powers instead of having to use all three. I guess it's okay. It doesn't really bother me that much, because I wouldn't use the supercharge over more consistent damage anyway. But yeah, if you could free up a slot for more variation, then sure, why not? Another thing is the cooldowns while in tank mode. The thing about Rage is you still have to deal with the Rage Crash mechanic, and that's still important, at least to me, that there is the risk. So if you were to lower the cooldowns of Outrage and all the other powers so you can combo like how Atomic does, for example, then it would take away the risk of using the Rage Crash mechanic. And I personally don't really like that, but at the same time I can also see why it gets a bit weird when you're using a battle tank spec for Rage. Alright guys, this was my video on Rage's update. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in the damage parses I've done, I'll put the links in the description for the posts I've made on the official forums. Let me know what you think about this update and my opinions in the comments as well. And if you like this video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe as well. That really helps us out a lot. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!